Let's get to the next segment here. Christmas and the inability, there, at least from the White House right now, to guarantee that you're going to be able to get your goods on time and for your gifts. Now look, are cheap Chinese goods from China really the embodiment of the Christmas spirit? No, but this is America. It's a hyper-capitalist consumer society. And let's be honest, that's what a lot of people love. So the White House is recognizing that they should probably start freaking out about this. But the time was, I don't know, maybe like 9 months ago, not yesterday. The White House yesterday pressed on whether they can guarantee Christmas gifts are going to get there on time. Not a great answer. Let's take a listen.
Based on everything being announced today, can this administration guarantee that holiday packages will arrive on time?
We are not the Postal Service or UPS or FedEx. We cannot guarantee. What we can do is use every lever at the federal government disposal to reduce delays, to ensure that we are addressing bottlenecks in the system, including ports and the need for them to be open longer hours so that goods can arrive. And we can continue to press not only workers and unions, but also companies to take as many steps as they can to reduce these delays.
So not a particularly encouraging answer there, Krystal.
She's so snarky all the time.
I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah, she's always
like,
has
this is like a really legitimate
it's a great question. You know, but of the things that she talks about, that's probably the single most relevant piece to people's lives. But for those of you who are just watching the clips, what we previously talked about in the inflation segment was that natural gas prices are very high, which means that people's heating bills are going to be higher. That we've already got high gas prices. On top of that, you know, Christmas gifts not being able to come on time. This is a political problem. We recently covered that independents turn on Biden. They recently did a focus group with swing voters, and they found that Biden was not rated higher than a C- amongst all the respondents. And one of them, one woman in particular, said, hey, I wanted to buy a new car and I literally can't. These are the types of things that the administration is going to get backlash on, regardless of whether you like it or not. Marshall and I did a segment earlier this week on the port of Los Angeles in particular, where you see these like 56, 58 ships waiting to be unloaded, stuff sitting on the docks for literally months. Biden, I want to give him credit, I think far too late, actually did come to a deal to try and keep that port open, and he had talked a little bit about it yesterday. Let's take a listen to what he said.
Los Angeles and Long Beach are home to two of the largest ports in America. And together, these ports are among the largest in the world. And the best way to make that point is that 40% of shipping containers that we import into this country come through these two ports. And today we have some good news. They're going to help speed up the delivery of goods all across America. After weeks of negotiation and working with my team and with the major union retailers and freight movers, the Port of Los Angeles announced today that it's going to begin operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This follows the Port of Long Beach's commitment to 24/7 that it announced just weeks ago. 24/7 system, what most of the leading countries in the world already operate on now, except us, until now. This is the first key step toward moving our entire freight, transportation, and logistical supply chain nationwide to a 24/7 system.
Yeah, so look, I mean, it's late, but I think he's doing what he can. There are a lot of questions about how much of a difference it's ultimately going to make.
Yes.
In this Washington Post article, they talk about, they've got some experts here, chief executive of the Harbor Trucking Association, who says it will only make a big difference if terminals abandon requirements for truckers to return a specific type of empty shipping container before collecting a full one. So there's all these complications that make it so that just extending the hours, and by the way, I also want to give them credit, they worked with the Teamsters to make sure the workers are taken care of and paid extra for working overtime and all of those things. But it may not have as much of an impact as we would like, especially because, you know, the unloading at these ports is not the only issue that is rippling through the economy ultimately. I mean, look, politically, I think it's a good look for him to seem like he's taking charge. But the reality is, you're talking about those focus groups. One of the things I found the most interesting is that it really didn't matter whether they were talking to a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent. They all had very similar concerns and very similar experiences in this economy where they felt a lot of uncertainty, and they did not feel like that core, we're going to be back to normal promise that Biden really ran on and leaned into has been anywhere close to fulfilled. This is perhaps the best sort of like incarnation, the most obvious manifestation of the way that things are not back to normal. I mean, obviously also the fact that you still have a pandemic and you still have to worry about that and schools and masks and all of those things. But the fact that you're still having to worry about whether you're going to be able to get goods for Christmas, whether you're going to be able to, you've been waiting to buy a car, now you can't do it, or the price has gone sky high, or you're trying to buy a house and those prices have gone sky high, or you're going to the grocery store and you're seeing shelves that are bare or prices that are going up. That all has contributed to some, catastrophic looking poll numbers for Joe Biden and the Democrats.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I've been thinking about it. If I was Biden, this is what I would focus on every day. I mean, I would have high-level meetings. I would have the King of Saudi Arabia on a plane and sitting in the Oval Office and be like, what's going on here? Why aren't you pumping more gas? I mean, that's something that you would first have to do. The second thing, you have to make it look at least like you're trying to do something. This Port of LA deal, it's okay. And like you said, the more I read about it, the more I thought, oh, well, cranking the port 24 hours is great, but look, the people who are actually in charge here, they say it only works if the trains, the trucks, and the warehouses all do the same. Well, Long Beach truckers don't want to work from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m., not because they're lazy, but because they have nowhere to take the containers at that hour, which means that the people that they're delivering to would have to open up between 3 and 7 a.m. So the railroads are at 24/7, but they're not necessarily at full capacity. The real problem we have is that it's just a massive supply crunch. And if Biden were really serious, it would be one of these things where it's not just some, deal here. It would have to be like almost every single day. Here's what we're doing to get the ports out on time. I mean, hell, like we have the Navy, the FEMA, like all of this. So you can even declare a natural disaster, whatever. We've had this happen before with the railroads and more. All I'm saying is treat it as the crisis as it is, and Americans will give you credit. But if they don't, here's how many people heard that announcement? How many people are listening to this show and making the connection between, oh, the Port of LA means higher prices, which means that my stuff doesn't come on time, and also there's a worker shortage, and also, all this other crazy stuff is happening. Look, at the end of the day, really how it manifests in your life is, oh, this thing I ordered is not here. Yeah. That's it. Or I went to the grocery store. I usually pay $50 a week. Now it's costing me $90. What's happening? I haven't had a steak in 3 weeks because it costs like $1,000 for a decent thing. I'm exaggerating, obviously. And you put all of that together, it's a problem for the president. I do think that the lack of vigor in trying to, the main thing that those people faulted him for was we're not back to normal. Yeah. That's the number one thing.
And there are actually some reasons behind this that are positive reasons, which is people have money, a little bit of money in their account.
That's true.
So they can buy goods.
Savings.
They want to buy things. Yeah. That's part of why you have, huge demand for a wide variety of products. And listen, the, Wall Street and these corporate executives, they've been freaking out about the worker shortage, but we know that actually in a lot of ways is a good thing because the fact
more
that you
money
have
in people's pockets.
The fact that you have a large number of openings, the fact that you have workers who are being able to be choosier about where they do their labor and for what price and what benefits come with that, those are also good things. So there are some good things that are underlying these issues, but that doesn't mean that they're not still issues that people are feeling and experiencing and giving them a sense of sort of chaos, uncertainty, and we're definitely not back to the normal that we thought we were promised and that we thought we would actually be back to now.
Yeah, I mean, you could put it all together. That's why we put these three segments back to back to back, which is that the worker revolt, the higher prices, and the supply chain are all interconnected.
Yes.
They are all a result of a dramatic change happening within the U.S. economy. It was cliche to say COVID was going to change everything, and it did. Like, a lot of people had reevaluations in their life, decided to take different jobs. It shut down global supply chain. It made us realize how vulnerable we are. If we can take away one thing, I just wish it were this. Do we really need China to make everything? Not just China, Vietnam, or the Philippines, Japan, South Korea. Right now, Apple have the new iPhone. Shout out to me.
Shout out to you.
Well, guess what? Apple has had to restrict by 10 million orders the number
really?
of iPhones that they're making. Exactly. And you know why, Krystal? Because of semiconductors. And because we don't make any semiconductors here in the US. So Apple, who already has their plants over in China, well, they're ninth. You know, Apple, one of the largest supplier purchasers there, is like, oh, sorry, you're not on the list. I even heard that Detroit is trying to design stuff that will eventually go into your car, but just not put it in there. They'll leave empty slots. So that way you can buy your new car, and Detroit is like, yeah, when we get the chips, we'll put it in there.
That's funny.
That's how desperate people are right now.
That's funny.
Look, if we can take one thing away, let's make some stuff here, folks, then we won't have that problem anymore.
And I'll put one more takeaway. We're going to try to get Matt Stoller on next week.
About monopolies.
Shout out to him, in addition to shout out to you. He launched his newsletter, is now a paid subscription. I already signed up, a paid subscriber. He's done phenomenal work tracking monopolies and how important they are and how many problems they've caused in our society around the world. And that's the other part of the problem. And I'm sure what he can explain to us as well about part of the supply chain disruption is when you have these gigantic monopolies in control of huge sectors of your economy, whether it is shipping and logistics, or whether it is, tech, or whether it is agriculture, every single segment effectively in American society is dominated by one or two or a few very large players. That also makes you incredibly fragile. Because a problem at one of those things is cascading effects throughout the economy. So it makes your society and it makes your economy extremely fragile when you have monopolies dominating these different sectors. So you have that. You have the fact that, in favor of a couple more pennies on the dollar profit margin, we sent all these critical industrial capabilities overseas, mostly to China, but to other places as well. And you get, the pandemic was, I don't want to call it a little hiccup. It was more than a little hiccup. But you get one issue and it has ripple cascading effects that are very, very hard to deal with in the short term, which is why, look, again, I'm glad Biden's doing the thing he's doing with the ports. Do I think that it's going to have a really significant, noticeable, immediate impact? I think we should all be pretty skeptical of that.
That's right. Make America autarkic again. That's your SAT word for the day. Go look it up.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.